Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Lisa McPherson? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I will put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll take a look at the background of this case, then I'll move to my analysis. Lisa McPherson grew up in Dallas, Texas, and became a member of the Church of Scientology at the age of 18. This church is a group of organizations that spreads a set of beliefs and practices developed by a man named L. Ron Hubbard. He established this church in 1953. A man named David Miscavige took over as the leader of the church after L. Ron Hubbard died in 1986. It has been variously defined as a religion, a business, and a cult. In Germany, it's considered an anti-constitutional sect. In France, the church itself was convicted of fraud, and in some other countries, it's legally recognized as a religion. Lisa worked for a marketing company owned by some of her friends who were Scientologists. It was called AMC Publishing. Since 1990, Lisa McPherson had been participating in an activity called Auditing. This is a mental health treatment offered by the Church of Scientology. It's a mechanism through which the church generates revenue. As part of this process of auditing, they use an electronic device which they refer to as an e-meter to facilitate a type of unlicensed counseling session. This device has a needle on it that goes back and forth, kind of like a voltmeter. It's supposed to tell the facilitator when the client is talking about something emotionally charged or a sensitive issue. Identifying the issue through seeing the needle move is supposed to magically make the person feel better. Auditing can cost up to $1,000 an hour. Lisa had spent $176,700 on this form of fake counseling. It appears as though Lisa had been experiencing psychotic episodes, although it's not clear when she started having symptoms. In 1994, when Lisa was 35 years old, AMC Publishing decided to relocate the company from Dallas, Texas to Clearwater, Florida, which is considered the spiritual headquarters of the Church of Scientology. In Florida, Lisa continued to participate in auditing sessions. In September 1995, during a ceremony at the Fort Harrison Hotel, Lisa was declared as clear. In Scientology, the term clear refers to an enhanced mental state. The word is actually derived from the button on a calculator by the same name. When somebody is clear, all false information has been deleted from their memory, which technically means they should forget about the beliefs of Scientology. I'm not sure how the church addresses that paradox. In theory, a clear person no longer has negative images, fears, anxiety, or irrational thoughts. They no longer have any type of emotional problem. According to some church members, it was David Miscavige himself who declared that Lisa was clear. Other church members say that David was at a meeting in California and had nothing to do with the situation. On November 18, 1995, just before 6 p.m., Lisa McPherson was operating a Jeep Cherokee when she rammed it into a boat trailer being towed by another vehicle. The other vehicle was not moving at the time of the collision. Lisa exited the Jeep and approached the man who was towing the trailer. She put her hands on his shoulders and said, "Where's the people? Where's the people?" When first responders arrived to the scene, they determined the collision was minor. Lisa signed a document stating she did not want to be treated. As Lisa was standing next to her vehicle and the first responders were attending to other activities, she started removing her clothing and walking down the street. She told a paramedic, "I need help. I need to talk to someone." She was taken to the hospital for a mental health evaluation. Lisa signed out of the hospital against medical advice after about 10 church members arrived to talk to her. The Church of Scientology does not believe in mainstream mental health treatment, believing it to be evil. These church members took her to the Fort Harrison Hotel, where she underwent their version of mental health treatment for psychosis, which is referred to as introspection rundown. This was created by L. Ron Hubbard. The goal of this treatment is to isolate and calm a psychotic person to such an extent that they can participate in auditing. The environment is supposed to be without distractions and non-stimulating. The psychotic individual is given items like vitamins and juice. Lisa's care was supervised by a person who did not have a license to practice medicine in Florida and whose license in Arizona was restricted. Other church members caring for her included a file clerk, a secretary, a payroll officer, a personnel director, security guards, and librarians. As part of her care, Scientology members kept activity logs written on paper. Later, a church member would admit that he ordered some of those logs to be destroyed because he was afraid they incriminated the church. The destroyed records contained information about a bizarre sexual reference Lisa made, the fact that there was a mirror in her room, and that one of her caretakers said that the situation was out of control and Lisa needed a physician. Here are a few examples from the log entries that were not destroyed. On November 18, Lisa was talking nonstop. At one point she said, "I created time 3 billion years ago, and now I am dramatizing it since then." On November 19, Lisa was walking like a robot, staring at one particular spot, and accused her caretakers of controlling her body. She kissed one of her caretakers on the lips. On November 22, Lisa was talking incoherently for hours on end and refusing to eat. She physically attacked one of her caretakers. On November 30, she was described as being nasty and evil. On December 3, Lisa said that enemies were trying to kill her. On December 5, 1995, the people who were treating Lisa drove her to a hospital in Newport Richey, Florida. By this point, Lisa was severely dehydrated, unable to walk, her breathing was labored, her eyes were fixed, and she wasn't blinking. They drove past 4 hospitals to get to the hospital in Newport Richey, selecting that particular hospital because a Scientologist worked there in the emergency room. By the time they reached the hospital, Lisa had no pulse and was not breathing. She was pronounced dead. Lisa McPherson was only 36 years old. The church's story at that time was that Lisa checked into the Fort Harrison Hotel for rest and relaxation, then suddenly fell ill. Lisa's family filed a wrongful death suit against the Church of Scientology in February of 1997. In November 1998, the state of Florida charged the church with 2 felonies, criminal neglect and practicing medicine without a license. The charges were dropped in June of 2000 due to the medical examiner unexpectedly changing her official finding on the cause of death from undetermined to accident. Essentially, she was now saying that Lisa had injured her knee in that minor vehicle collision, which led to a blood clot behind her knee and eventually to her death. The church and Lisa's family settled the wrongful death lawsuit in May of 2004. The terms of the settlement are confidential. Now moving to my analysis. When considering the case of Lisa McPherson, it's important to understand the context. The Church of Scientology has a very questionable reputation. Here are just a few examples of controversial items surrounding this church. Item number 1. The church is known for being extremely aggressive against people who criticize it, like filing frivolous lawsuits and intimidating people. A major part of their tactic is to find something negative about the critic, like past criminal activities, indiscretions, or other information the person would not want to be public. L. Ron Hubbard once declared that every critic of Scientology had a criminal past. There were no exceptions in his mind. The church also deals harshly with its own members. Members who challenge the church are labeled suppressive persons and harassed repeatedly. Item number 2, the church has a long history of being secretive. They try to protect their nonsensical doctrine as if it was valuable. They appear to have secret compounds in different locations, like they were inspired by Dr. Evil from the Austin Powers movies. Item number 3, the church does not support empirically validated mental health treatment techniques. They have their own fake counseling, which, as I mentioned, they refer to as auditing. This activity is a major moneymaker for the church. I find it interesting that they accuse mental health professionals of being in it for profit, but then respond by creating and promoting an unproven counseling method. It really just seems like they were envious, like they are saying to the mental health profession, you can't rip people off. That's our job. Item number 4, David Miscavige has been accused by many people of various offenses. He has been called violent, aggressive, manipulative, and angry. His wife, Shelley Miscavige, has not been publicly seen since attending her father's funeral in August of 2007. She was reported missing. The Los Angeles Police Department investigated and said that Shelley was alive and not being held against her will. Some people believe that she is in a top-secret compound owned by the Church of Scientology. This is a place where they take the teachings of L. Ron Hubbard and etch them onto platinum plates. I guess they're storing them for the future so all people can benefit from his wisdom. There's nothing criminal about not going out in public, but I think this behavior does speak to the secret nature of the organization and potentially to the character of David Miscavige. Did he ostracize his wife? Is she being punished because she disagreed with him? Is she under orders to be there? Nobody knows, but her absence is inconsistent with her previous behavior. When considering the context in this case, as well as the evidence, what do I think happened to Lisa McPherson? This is just a theory, my opinion. I think that Lisa died because the church tried to deliver mental health care, but had no idea what they were doing. Considering that Lisa was determined to be clear, it was pretty embarrassing for the church if she went on to have a psychotic episode. This means that their treatment was not effective. It really does seem like they were simply trying to protect their source of revenue. The church members were extremely irresponsible. Any reasonable person should have known that Lisa needed competent treatment, and any responsible person should have done something to make sure she received it. Lisa died in a horrible way under awful circumstances. She trusted the church to care for her, to transfer all of her negative feelings to some other dimension. In reality, they transferred just about all her money into their bank account. When Lisa died, she had about $5,700 in a church bank account and $11 in her savings account. Many people believe that the medical examiner was influenced by the church, like maybe they found something in her past that she didn't want to be public. The prosecutor did not think the church was innocent, but rather it would have been challenging to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt when considering the medical examiner's unexplained behavior. Moving to my final thoughts, the Church of Scientology is considered by many as an aggressive and highly organized cult. Their success is based on secrecy, intimidation, domination, and their focus on making money. Many other cults operate in the same way, but have achieved little success because they could not figure out the economics of running a cult. In this sense, the Church of Scientology has taught the world something, not about self-actualizing the full potential of beings that have lived innumerable past lives throughout the galaxy, but rather about the importance of cash flow. Those are my thoughts on the case of Lisa McPherson. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis on this topic to be as intriguing as a money-making cult disguised as a religion. Thanks for watching.